A little bit over a year ago, I was technically homeless. Now, I wasn't destitute and living on the street, but I didn't have a permanent address. I was constantly on the road for work and I was considering relocating, and I wanted to make sure I kept my flexibility. So rather than re sign my lease, I decided to go ahead, let my place go, put all my stuff into storage, and kind of live in the employer provided housing. If I had re signed my lease, I would have been locked in for at least another 6 months, and I didn't want to do that. So this was a pretty risky move because all the jobs I was taking were like between 3 days and 3 weeks. And if I was let go at any point during my employment, I would lose my actual housing and become officially homeless. Now, I did save a bit of money, but honestly, I eventually started to miss simple comforts like a bathtub, a stove, and the ability to fry an egg. These were things that I pretty much took for granted in my everyday life because they were the standard. It's not that I wasn't eating, it's just that I had to rely on restaurants or things that I could make in the microwave, like ramen and oatmeal. Because I was bouncing around so much, the post office would frequently update my address, and at one point it got so bad that one of my paychecks had gotten forwarded to one of my prior addresses. I had to drive around to different Airbnbs and hotels that I'd stayed at trying to figure out where my check had ended up. Not having a permanent address really started to wear on me, and it started to make my life quite difficult. In fact, something as simple as going to the gas station became a nightmare because you'd have to enter your zip code, and when I'm moving around that much in that short of a period of time, I was having difficulty figuring out which cards had which zip code attached to them because the post office was constantly updating my zip code because they were always receiving new information. I couldn't wait to settle down again, and I really started to appreciate the idea of clutter.
It's a beautiful day to be alive.
Maybe clutter's the wrong word. Maybe it's comfort, options, the stuff you give up when you're down to the bare essentials. All things that I was familiar with, but never quite appreciated until now. You know what sucks? I've been setting this shot up for so long that the refrigerator just turned on. It didn't make any noise until about 4 seconds ago. You might remember the minimalism trend from like 2018, 2019. Everybody was just trying to get rid of all their stuff because simple living is better. And I wasn't 100% on board with that, but I definitely embraced some of those philosophies. Like, I definitely was actively trying to keep as few things as possible. But it kind of got to the point where people were competing over who could have the most minimalistic look, wearing like the same color outfit every single day and, having just one cup and one plate. And that was just too much for me. But, every year I've tried to eliminate some extra stuff. But since starting over, I just don't have as much to get rid of this year. But there's still definitely things I can combine or use so they just don't take up all this extra space. Like some of these pots and pans, cheaper stuff, they were serviceable at the time, but I've since replaced a bunch of things with much nicer quality materials, things that are gonna definitely outlive me. So now I'm willing to let these go to somebody who can use them. Now, I cook a lot, but every once in a while I order some kind of DoorDash, Uber Eats situation, and they give you all these. Now, at first I would keep them. It's nice to have something to put some of these leftovers in. But there's just two people living here, so I don't need this much. And then, you kind of lose lids, and I just don't need this much. It's time to let some of this stuff go. It'll help me to better organize the cabinet and, have less lids to lose. Going through a divorce requires a lot of documentation, paperwork, receipts, audio, and video. And thankfully, vlogging taught me to document. So while I haven't accumulated a bunch of material things, I have acquired a significant amount of files which constantly require organizing. But the thing about vlogging is it takes all these random files and it puts it into a nice cohesive story that I get to enjoy. Now, of course, if you find yourself in my situation and you need these files in their entirety, yeah, it's not the same thing, but having some of it is definitely better than having none of it. And I think that whole what if mentality is the reason why a lot of us are so afraid to let things go. But now that all this is finally behind me, I'm able to start archiving these files, shredding this paperwork, and putting all of this in the past. The paper is actually the hardest part. I use this app called Genius Scan to quickly take photos of all my paper documents. It'll go ahead and convert them into PDF and then it'll email them to me directly. At that point, I'm able to just shred all the paper, but then I can archive all that stuff electronically on my computer. But I do want to go through my clothes because some things have honestly gotten uncomfortable as they've aged. Like it's super weird. I think it's just from being washed so much. At this point, my closet is down to just what I need for each season. Though I'd rather take my stuff to the tailor because it's so hard for me to find something I love. It just feels a little bit wasteful, but at the same time, I've got things like these jeans where I have tailored them twice. And at this point, I've spent more on getting these jeans tailored than I have on actually purchasing them. It just seems a little bit silly to have them tailored for a third time. Definitely embracing the quality over quantity. You know, if I have less things but they're of higher quality, I think I'm okay with that. I used to always just be about saving a buck no matter what, but I'm starting to come around to the idea that when you buy cheap things, sometimes you just end up buying them again more frequently. And if you spent a little bit more money up front the first time, you wouldn't have to rebuy it. With limited space during a move like this, you really have to choose carefully about what you're able to bring with you. And, you know, because of that, everything that I have at this point has a real story. Like everything that I have means something to me. After going through such a significant loss, you know, I've definitely reevaluated like what's important to me, what truly means a lot to me, and you know, clothes just that's not it for me. You know, they've been good to me, but I gotta let them go. I bought these pots a couple months ago. They don't have any drainage, so I like the way they look, but I have no real usage for them. So definitely going to be getting rid of these. So I moved here with nothing. Pretty much if it didn't fit in my car, I couldn't bring it. And because of the limited space, obviously I had to make some tough decisions. The last place I was at, I was there for about 9 months. So I started to furnish it. Obviously I didn't want to get too deep into furnishing it, but I needed to be some sort of comfortable. So, you know, beds, TVs, toiletries, that kind of thing. But I didn't really spread out, didn't really do too much decorating. I wanted it to be just enough, but I think I'm at a place now where, at least geographically, I'm where I want to be, so I can start to spread out a bit. Before I moved, I had about 30 plants. I knew they weren't going to survive the move, so I unfortunately had to give them all away. And I knew that as soon as I arrived, that was going to be the first thing I did. I headed out to a local nursery, and on the way, I had to stop and get gas. As I'm pumping gas, I look over to the trash can and I see a styrofoam cup. And inside that cup is a plant. This plant, in fact. It wasn't completely dead, but there was no soil, there was no water, and it was just left in a garbage can. It just seemed so odd to me. Someone had just thrown it out like trash, and that's how I was feeling. This was clearly meant to be. I picked it up, went over, got some soil, got a new pot, replanted it, and I'm happy to say that it's starting to flourish. It's just really cool to see that something that was pretty much left for dead is now thriving. And that's what I want for myself. I want to thrive. Like, I'm not done yet. When we left, my son had to give up many of his favorite things. Stuff that at the time I would have argued was insignificant toys that he'd simply grow out of, but I've since learned it wasn't that simple. He still misses those toys, and while it may have just been stuff to me, that was his childhood. My logic was always just get rid of old things so you can make room for the new, but I didn't fully consider that sometimes the joy an item gives you is simply irreplaceable. Our homes are a reflection of who we are, or at least who we aspire to be. Carefully curated to reflect our unique personality, so I look forward to building a new foundation, complete with all the clutter that life brings.